Aliens is the 1986 sequel to Alien, and it stars Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, Carrie Henn, and Paul Reiser, and is directed by James Cameron. Aliens takes place 57 years after the events of Alien, where Ripley is finally rescued from her escape pod. Turns out colonists have been living on LV-426, the planet where the alien came from in the first movie, and communications have suddenly ceased. Ripley accompanies a group of Marines to the planet in order to find out what happened. There they discover a hive of xenomorphs, and it becomes a fight to survive. Now, as you know, sequels are rarely ever as good as the original. Heck, sometimes they're not even good at all. Most of the time, the story kind of ended in that original movie, and then the sequel, it's a money grab or whatever the studio wants to make, or maybe someone really liked that first one, so they want to make a sequel, but they don't really know where to go and take the characters or the situation from the previous film. And so it becomes subpar. It just becomes a copycat onto itself. Most sequels are like that. Sometimes it's a continuation of the story. You know, sometimes it makes sense because it's based on book series like, say, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Some sequels, you're able to take the ideas from the original and continue it in an interesting way. You have the Indiana Jones series like maybe Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, or James Bond, where they take the same basic idea or the same basic premise and they continue it. They, you know, do different things with it in each movie, and it still stays at least fun, you know, for the fans or whatever. But rarely does it ever get to the point where it's like, that is as good as the original. However, sometimes there are those rare sequels that not only are as good as the original, but sometimes even surpass them and are debated whether the original is better or the sequel. You have movies like Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2, also directed and written by James Cameron. You have movies like The Godfather 2. Movies that are just known to be debated on, at the very least, as whether or not the original is the best or that sequel. And Aliens is one of those rarefied few that many people have that camp of, they think Aliens is better. Now, whether or not I agree that Aliens is the best one in the series, I'll let you know at the end of this review, but I will say this, that I absolutely love this movie. I adore this movie. James Cameron did an excellent job of continuing the character, Ripley, from Alien, and making the xenomorphs stay a threat, a genuine, interesting threat, and continue it in a new, interesting way. And the funny thing is, Fox really wanted him to do this, but he hadn't really done a whole lot before this movie came out. Or before doing this movie is what I meant to say. You know, he did, of course, release Terminator a couple years before Aliens, but when they were looking at him, he hadn't released Terminator yet. They kind of were like, wow, he wrote this really great script, we would love him to write the film, maybe direct it, we'll see how this robot movie he's doing does. Before Terminator, you know, he'd only done one other movie, at least directing-wise, Piranha 2: The Spawning, a sequel to another film that's not even close to as good as that first film. I actually really like the first Piranha. It's an underrated little horror movie from the 70s, honestly. But Piranha 2 is just really dumb. You know, it's, you know, the fish, you know, instead of just staying in the water and attacking people, now they can fly, apparently. I have seen this. I barely remember it. I remember it being really boring, and it was really silly seeing terribly superimposed, you know, not mechanical, but puppetry of fish flying at the camera and attacking characters. It was really dumb. But yeah, that was Piranha 2. It has been disowned by James Cameron and several of the cast. So, you know, it's kind of funny that I brought up Roger Corman in my last review talking about Alien, because James Cameron, Lance Henriksen, Michael Biehn, and Bill Paxton, all friends from Roger Corman era. They all came out of that world and, you know, did a ton of movies together, Piranha 2, The Terminator, and Aliens. And it's just really funny that there's that interesting connection with Roger Corman in the Alien franchise. I don't know, it's funny to me, because Roger Corman does make a lot of very interesting, low-budget movies, and Alien is like the high-budget version of a lot of Roger Corman movies, so it's just kind of funny to me. But anyway, lucky for all of the Alien fans, all of us, because Fox actually was willing to wait for James Cameron's Terminator to come out so that he could come and direct Aliens if Terminator turned out well, or at the very least, write another draft of Aliens, continue being a part of it, which is rare for a studio to do that. You wouldn't really hear about that nowadays, I'll tell you that. That's something long past that studios did. It's really cool when a studio can stand by a director or a writer and actually, let them do their work. Because, well, sometimes it doesn't work out, I'll admit, but other times we get movies like Aliens, where it's a freaking masterpiece. This movie perfectly takes the horror, the claustrophobic horror of Alien, and amplifies it in a way with having 100 xenomorphs. Because what we discover when we go to LV-426 is that there is no one left except for a little girl named Newt who's been hiding in, like, the, under the floor panels and all this stuff. And she has luckily survived, being a little kid, it's probably easier, you can hide better from these alien creatures. And what they find, the Marines, they go into this basement area and they find a hive of xenomorphs. Turns out there are hundreds of xenomorphs down there. And we get to learn a little bit more about how the alien works as a creature. We learn they basically are like insects, like bees or ants. Yes, they have a really forced line in the director's cut where they have to explain that to the audience, and unless I'm wrong, I believe they cut that line in the theatrical. I rewatched the director's cut for this, and it's been a little while since I've seen the theatrical. I don't remember every single line from that movie like some people do, so I'd have to look that up, but I believe I heard that they cut that line, and if they did, well, good, because, yeah, that line is really silly. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. It's pretty obvious that we're making a tie to real-life insects. By the way, before I continue, spoilers ahead. This Alien series is going to be complete with spoilers until Alien Covenant, because that just came out, so I'm not going to be an ass. But the other Alien movies, okay, you know what, spoilers, okay? But anyway, we get to find out that there's a queen, there's a queen and then all these, like, underlings, much like ants and bees, like I said. And that's how they thrive and work. We learn that they cocoon certain people, and use them basically for rebirth. That's how they continue on as a species. They cocoon them right next to one of the alien eggs, which will eventually open up and a facehugger will come out and attack them. I like that this movie never runs out of tension. It never feels like, oh, these Marines can just overcome it. Like, first off, when they go down into this area where they find the hive, not only are they outnumbered, but before they get to the aliens themselves, or get attacked by the aliens themselves, they are told this place could blow up at any moment if you use a gun down here. So only using flame units. Only use like blowtorches and stuff. No bullets can be fired. And that's a nice little addition to make it like they have less they're able to do. You get to learn a little bit more about Ripley. If you watch the director's cut, there's a great scene with, why did they cut it? I don't know if this was studio mandated. It probably was, but if it wasn't, I don't know why they cut it. But there's a great scene where after Ripley is rescued, she finds out that her daughter, well, we found out she had a daughter. We didn't know this in Alien, but it turns out she was a mother, and her daughter grew up without her because she was, of course, in space, lost for 57 years. The last time she saw her daughter, she was like 11, and now she was a full-grown woman and she died. And it's a really touching, sad moment, and it adds more of a tie to why she cares so much about Newt. Besides just, Newt's a kid, so she wants to care about her. Now, even without that, it's still a really strong tie. And funny enough, I was watching the Siskel and Ebert review of Aliens, just for fun, and they had this to say.
This is pretty much wall-to-wall. The monsters are on the attack. And once we see the first monster, from that point out, you got about an hour or more of monsters on attack. Mm-hmm. And that was about probably a half an hour too much for me. And I have another objection, and this is one of long-standing. I think one of the cheapest shots you can do in a movie is show a child in peril. You know, a kid in front of the street and will the car run them down. When I see a movie do that, I check out of that picture because I think they're taking the easy way out. And I know that the kid, unless it's one of these comedy splatter films or something, the kid is not going to get nailed, so it held no suspense for me. And this movie holds that little girl that we saw in the last scene in peril for quite a long time. She's probably in peril for 15 minutes of the movie, and I was saying, who needs the grief? I don't want to see the little girl grabbed.
I know your point about using the little kids. I'll defend it to this degree. In all the Alien movies, there is always that question. Who is with us and who's against us? Because these aliens go inside of you and they incubate in here and then they pop out. And of course, since that little girl was alone on that planet for a long time before this group arrived, there is the question, is she a real little girl, or does she have one of those things inside of her? And I was waiting for that bomb to go off. I'm not going to say if it does go off or not, but it seemed to me that they were using her innocence as a thriller technique.
Yeah, and all I'm telling you is I saw her in pain, and I was in pain.
It's just funny that they would talk about Newt's character like that, because it's very obvious to me why she's in this movie. She's an emotional tie for Ripley to be more tied into the story and give her something to truly care about more than just, oh, I want to kill these aliens because they killed everyone on the Nostromo, all my friends, and now I want to kill them. Because, you know, they're dicks. There's more of a reason for it to be there than just as what basically Carter Burke, a character I'll talk about in a minute, brought her along for just as an assistant, as someone to basically there to just tell them how an alien works, what they are, what they do, that they have acid for blood, all that stuff. She now is more of a tie to the movie. And that's great, because it gives her an emotional tie. There's a lot of sweet moments with her where she's acting very motherly towards Newt. And very protective of Newt. And she has, her character is very well fleshed out in this movie. She feels like a real character, yet again in this, and I love that. You know, she's like, I need to protect this little girl. I need to get her out of here. We need to get her out of here. We need to get out of here ourselves and just, you know, blow this place up. We just need to get out of here. Blow this place up. There's way too many of them down there. She does step up. She steps up a lot in this movie, and it's great when she does. Never feels forced, though. Never feels like, we gotta have a badass woman here just to have a badass woman. Like, her character makes sense, and there's a reason to have her. And that is what is really done very well here. James Cameron did an excellent job, as well as Sigourney Weaver, of carrying over the character of Ripley from the first one and continuing the continuity of who her character was in that first movie. And Sigourney Weaver actually got nominated for Best Actress for this movie. Yeah, at the Academy Awards, which is unfreaking heard of for a horror movie, for sci-fi, for movies like this, that it got nominated for several, won a couple of technical awards, but for an actress to get nominated, not win, unfortunately, but get nominated for an award, for an acting award, like, that's amazing. And she never overshadows anyone else in this movie either, which is great. This movie is very well balanced with horror and action. You know, the Marines never feel like they're overpowering the aliens. They certainly have the power to fight back, but they never feel like they're not in any danger. Because initially we, of course, get the hive scene, where a lot of them are whittled down really quickly. A lot of the Marines are killed off really fast by the xenomorphs, because they're taken by surprise. But you never feel like they're overpowered. Later on, you know, we see that these aliens are getting closer. They don't know where they're coming from. Turns out they're coming from above, and that's a really thrilling moment. It's really creepy when Hicks just opens a thing up above, and he looks up, and there's just all these xenomorphs right there. And he's like, oh shit, he goes down. And they just start shooting like crazy up there, and it's very well done. This movie has a lot of just very engaging action sequences, very fun action sequences that never feel like, oh, let's just have an action for action's sake, which a lot of these summer blockbusters, especially nowadays, do. Where it's just, we need to have an action scene here, because we need an action scene. Like, they all make sense. And these characters are, the most important thing, these characters are fun and interesting. The Marines are awesome. Hicks, obviously a very great character. He's a character that you want to see live on, just because he is very smart and very aware of, you know, what he is doing. Like, he never plays the dumb guy or anything, you know. You know, that's another thing about this movie. They never dumb down other characters to exemplify how badass Sigourney Weaver is. With some movies you get that, and that's unfortunate, because I think that's really dumb. You know, certain movies. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but, you know, certain other movies. I gotta talk about Bill Paxton in this movie. Bill Paxton, rest in peace, and rest in peace John Hurt. I didn't mention it, but John Hurt from Alien, he also passed away this year. Really sad. We lost two great genre actors. Bill Paxton, you know, every movie he was in, he'd always be a joy to watch, you know, from Terminator in his very small role to a movie like Twister. He just made those movies better by him being in it. He was just a very prolific, fun genre actor. He just lit up the screen with his charisma. And yeah, he really amplifies it here. He has some of the best lines in this movie. You have a great camaraderie between the Marines. They all play off each other really well. Even like the lesser Marines that die really quickly, they still have enough screen time to make a small impact, which is pretty cool. That even like behind, you know, extras, you know, the people that you were just like, oh, they're fodder, you know, in these kind of movies, they're just here to die. They still have a little bit of a standout, you know, they have enough that stands out about them so that you remember those characters, which is really funny. And it's really cool. Like, you don't see that too much in these kind of movies, but, you know, Aliens did a great job of that. They also do a switcheroo in this movie because, you know, in the last movie we had Ash, who was this android who's evil and working for the company and just doesn't care, you know, he's trying to just get this alien home, doesn't care about anyone else. And now we have Lance Henriksen, who's playing Bishop, a new android, who Ripley is, of course, immediately suspicious of as soon as she finds out he's an android, which she finds out at the very beginning. And throughout the movie, she's very cold to him. And what turns out is, you know, but at the end of the movie, of course, she does finally say, you know what, you did good. I'm sorry, I've been kind of a, you know, she kind of apologizes in her own way to Bishop for being kind of a bitch to him. And not necessarily unwarranted. I mean, you know, you can see why she'd be suspicious, you know. I like that switcheroo because, you know, then we're kind of suspicious of him too, you know, because Ripley is. And, you know, we've seen the first movie probably. Most people seeing this probably did see Alien before it. And they're like, oh, maybe he's a villain now. But no, of course, it turns out to be the human character, Carter Burke, who locks Newt and Ripley in a room with two facehuggers. And that is a very tense sequence. Even rewatching the movie, it was very tense. I was tense. I was jumping a little bit because it's really well filmed. You know, it's pitch dark and these little things just can jump out from any corner and just get them, you know. They're really quick, so it adds a lot of tension. And no one knows they're locked in there until, of course, Ripley sets off the fire alarm, which gets everyone running in there to save them. And, you know, it doesn't feel like a copycat having another villain human character. It feels like this is warranted for this movie. The structure of Aliens, I should mention, is very similar to Alien in that, you know, you have characters in an isolated location, be it a spaceship or a complex on a planet, hunted down by aliens. There's a character in their midst who is also an enemy who just wants to bring an alien back to Earth. And, you know, Ripley has to stand up and be a badass. Like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the two, but they're also they're unique and apart from each other. This one, you know, does a lot of things. It continues the story, as I said, and it does a lot of things that are different. And that's great because it makes the movie still unique and interesting to watch. And it never feels like, oh God, been there, done that. Yeah, We'll get to those movies in this series when it does, but so far, you know, Aliens did a very good job of standing out on its own and doing its own thing, while taking some of the best stuff from Alien and marrying it to all this new stuff. And I think James Cameron just did an excellent job of writing and directing this movie. The pacing is great. There's never it's from the very beginning. It's a very fun film. It's a very thrilling film. It feels like a roller coaster. I know it's a cliche to say this movie's like a roller coaster ride. You'll be thrilled by this movie. You'll be on the edge of your seat. You know, all those critic cliches, but it's kind of true in this movie. It is so fun from beginning to end, this movie. And, you know, well done, James Cameron. Well done to the cast, because they made a classic. This movie holds up 30 years later. And it is still fun. It's still great. This movie is very fun, but it never feels cluttered with stuff. It never feels like action or horror is overtaking one or the other. They're brought together very well in perfect harmony, I would say. Like I mentioned, I never feel like the tension goes down just because, you know, they're able to use their guns or whatever. Or, you know, there are moments where they come up with ideas like using turret guns, at least in the director's cut, to take out all these xenomorphs. And that's a great idea, a great, cool setup, a cool idea for this movie. We don't really get to see the turret guns go off, which, I mean, we see them go off, but we don't get to see them, like, you know, mow down a bunch of aliens, which is fine, honestly. It's just cool hearing it in the background, you know. They're kind of watching on the screen, watching, like, the numbers go down of, like, the ammo, and then, you know, it looks like, oh, maybe they're done, or, oh, no, they're just looking for another way in. God, there's so many great lines. This is kind of the quote movie in the series. There's so many great lines from this movie. You know, get away from her, you bitch. God, one of my favorites is, did IQs just drop sharply when I was away? This movie is great, and oh God, you know, like I said, like this movie, oh God, I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's just a lot of fun, and it's scary, it's thrilling, it's everything that an action movie or a horror movie should have. And it's brought together perfectly. James Cameron, well done. He did an excellent job making this sequel. I love Aliens, and I'm giving it 5 stars. Yeah, I love this movie. Now, the question is, do I like it better than Alien? Part of me says, you know, I don't know. I think Alien is like the smallest little bit better. I'd like it the smallest little bit more, just because I love those kind of horror movies. But at the same time, Aliens, it still, you know, has a lot of fun. And it still has action mixed with horror. And I love that too. So they're pretty damn close to each other. But I'm going to go with Aliens just because I like the tension in that a little bit more. And that's really the only reason. You know, it's just I like horror a little more than action, I guess. Even though I love action. So don't take that to mean I don't like Aliens, because I know how the internet is, and yeah, but it's 5 stars, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, even though I like Alien a little more, I still love Aliens. This movie's incredible. See this movie if you haven't. Please, see Alien and Aliens. Just watch those back to back, because they're both incredible movies. And yeah, I'm gonna, I guess, keep reviewing these movies, even though Alien Covenant's already out by now, by the time you see this video. I was kind of fatigued after watching all these Alien movies. I'll get into why later with those reviews. But hey, Aliens is a great movie. See it if you have. But that's my reviews for now, and until next time.
Game over, man. It's game over.